Welcome to Veterans in Transition. Each week we travel around the region highlighting veteran-related news, issues, and events. In this episode, we hear from a woman veteran proudly confessing the importance of sharing. We serve too. We introduce you to a program that provides U.S. military veterans free training and support to start a career in technology. A LinkedIn influencer shares her story. In business, advertising is a must. LinkedIn influencer and Appetis founder and creative CEO shares her story and how her business empowers and educates business owners on the necessity of advertising.
You're an Air Force veteran, if I'm correct. Tell us a little about your background and how did you get to become the entrepreneur that you are now?
Born and raised in Houston, Texas. Hated it. I'm like a third generation Hispanic. Family was very traditional Hispanic. And so the whole game plan for me was to graduate high school and get married. That wasn't my game plan. So I wanted to join the military because I fell in love with the commercials. Be all you can be. I really did fall in love with it, okay? And I actually talked to a Marine recruiter. When I talked to the recruiter, he told me to go to Air Force. He said, girl, Marine's too tough for you. You need to go to Air Force. So I signed up and I went with the knowing that I was gonna go in for 20 years. I was gonna be all I can be, travel the world and do all this great stuff. And what happens, I work on missiles. I end up in the middle of the USA and Missouri. And I'm like, oh my God, It was a great experience, but I think a year and a half after I got into it, I knew it wasn't going to be 20 years. I love the experience. I love meeting the people and the whole, feel of the brotherhood and sisterhood. That was awesome. But I knew that my education was going to be my top of mind. And so I used the military for all the experiences that anybody gets out of it. I mean, I matured immediately. Coming from a very traditional Hispanic family, I was really sheltered. And so going into the military really opened my eyes to a lot of things that I was not exposed to, even in Houston, Texas, And so did the 4 years, worked on the missiles. And so I followed a military boy to Tennessee and then started my TV career. And so I got into an ad agency. And then from there, I got into TV, started selling TV ads. And then a year and a half later, they promoted me. I became a manager. And then I went to 5 different major markets. And I repped ABC, NBC, CBS, Telemundo, Fox, just about everyone you can think of.
And then all of a sudden, you linked up with Facebook. And how has that experience been?
I started Advertise in 2014, okay? And my whole reason for starting the company was to market to small businesses. In the 27 years that I sold TV and trained and coached my team, I always heard, I can't afford to advertise. I don't care what market, okay? And it doesn't matter what size business. They always said, I can't afford to advertise. So in corporate America, TV, they would walk away from that business. Okay, and so when I was ready to create my business, I wanted to go after that market, the underserved market, the people that really, really needed it, okay? And that's the marketplace that I go after, is the small business owner who says, I don't have any money to advertise, okay? So we use Facebook because it's efficient, And so if someone absolutely does not have money, then we'll coach and train them how to do it themselves. But if they have some money, then we use whatever resource we have and use whatever little money they have and stretch it as far as we can. So Facebook, after so long, Facebook approached us and said, hey, we'd love to have you as an advertising partner. We'll coach, we'll train, and mentor you. And so they take me to Chicago every so often and train us and coach us so that we can help more businesses.
So is that an initiative specifically for veterans that you linked in with?
It's actually for people of color. So we got selected because we are a minority-owned business.
Now that you've been here at the Military Influencer Conference, MIC, DC.
The very first day I went to the podcasting event that was 3 hours, I could have left after that and said, you know what, I got my money back and then some. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it was amazing. And so that workshop alone was my first exposure to this. And I was like, yes, this is awesome.
So what are some of the biggest takeaways that you have?
So probably some really, really big takeaways is I went to a networking event and there's a few of my competitors here, you know? And so I don't feel like they're competitors, okay? Because I was telling somebody the other day is you can't be afraid of mingling with the people that do some of the same stuff you do. There's enough business out there for everyone. But what I do love is learning from my competitors, you know? So all the tips and trades and learning that on our social, in the social places, you know? When we did the happy hour and I'm talking to a few of them and they're telling me to do this or to do that. That to me is like big, because you're learning different stuff in these workshops, but you're learning from people too, which is amazing. Do you know what I mean? And so the connections and learning from people is probably like over the top here. And I think a lot of that has to do with the whole brother sisterhood, like where it's easy to talk to each other, you know?
How do you give back to the community?
So we do a lot of free workshops. So it doesn't matter if the business owner is in Milwaukee or they're remote. So we do a lot of webinars and actual workshops. So I'm actually the president of the Wisconsin Veterans Chamber, okay? And so we do a lot of workshops for the Veterans Chamber. And all we're doing is teaching people how to run their own social media, you know, the tips and the tricks and the things so that if they can't afford it or they don't want to spend the money to do that, we're going to give them the skills so that they can do it right. Because I would rather see a business do it right than not, you know, didn't do it wrong or not do it at all. And so we do a lot of education and advocating for businesses. And the veteran businesses, of course, is my passion.
She helps women veterans conquer the battle over their money by way of her business, Financial Freedom Battle Buddies. Correspondent Sharissa Jackson has this story.
So thank you so much for talking to me today. So we're going to start right off the bat. Tell me what it's like to be a woman veteran.
I just think it's awesome, right? I just think that nowadays it just seems like there's more attention being brought on us about women veterans, like this setup here. You know, because a lot of people think of, when they hear veteran, they think of men, right? Or they make the mistake and ask the question, "Are you the spouse?" No, I'm the veteran. Yeah. You know, so I just think that it's awesome that more women were recognizing, we're speaking up about being a veteran. I just think that it's a great thing. So I love it.
Awesome, awesome. So I came into the military at 17. So my parents had to sign. It was 6 of us. I saw the struggles that they did when they were trying to put my other siblings through school. And so I knew the military was a way to have to pay for college. So why did you choose to come into the military?
My mother, you know, yeah, she would do anything for me, but I wanted to go to school. She would have took on a second job, but I didn't want her to have to do that. Right, so my oldest brother, he went to the Air Force. I visited him. He was at Blytheville in Arkansas. And I went to visit, and I knew that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to education and to travel, and also to get away from. This sound bad, to get away from my mom. You know, it's just being the youngest. There wasn't a lot of things I can do. I wanted my freedom, but really it was about education and travel, and I didn't want to burden my mother for that. So I was going to do my 4 years, but all that changed, and 21 years later, here I am, a proud Air Force retiree.
What was your experience in the military? How was that?
I always knew that once I made the decision to stay in, but initially I was just going to get my GI Bill and get out, but decided to stay in. I was enlisted, but then I switched over and became an officer. So, and I did that because I felt like I could be more of an influence, right, to make those changes that we talk about. Yeah. So that's why I switched over. So for the most part, I think it's great for anybody. It's not for everybody. It's 20 years, and everybody's not going to do 20 years. Yeah. But if you just come in and do 4 years, you'll be that much above the next person that don't have any military experience. Yeah. So I loved it. I came in for education, no degree. I end up with a doctorate degree. Yeah, so I got education at every level. So I took advantage of everything that the military provided for me. So I really enjoyed it.
Tell me, what was your staying power? What made you say, I'm gonna go the full 20 years, you didn't get out at 10, or was there any contemplation at some point that you were gonna get out and then something changed your mind?
My true reason for staying in for longer is my daughter. I was a single parent the majority of my military career, and I didn't want her to want for anything. So that's why I stayed.
Isn't that the story of our lives? I mean, I was a single parent too of twin daughters, and that was one of the main reasons why I stayed in, is because I wanted a better life for my daughters.
Yeah.
And so many of us, women veterans out here, are doing the same thing every day.
Exactly.
We're moms, we're soldiers, we're commanders, and then we have to go to war, we have to come back and do it all over again.
Yeah.
And it's just so unfortunate that a lot of women don't get to tell their story. Why is it important for us to tell our stories?
How are people going to know if we don't share it, right? Yeah. If you don't talk about it, if we don't share it with people, how are they going to know? How are things going to get better if we don't speak up? Yeah. So that's why it's important. We serve just like anybody else. So what we have to say is just as important to those other guys that serve. We was in battle. I was in Iraq. Maybe I wasn't on the front lines, but I was financed, right? We say you make the kill, we pay the bill, right? That was our battle cry. So I just feel it's just so important to share our experiences, because so people know, right? A lot of civilians, they know very little about the military as it is. So just imagine how much little they know about women. You know, of course they think we're spouses or dependents. No, we're veterans, we serve. So that's the reason we have to get our stories out there. And it's not all bad, right? Yeah. That's another thing. I think we have to change that narrative. Yes. A lot of our stories aren't all bad. It's not all about sexual harassment. It's not all about homelessness. Those things are important, right? But a lot of us, we didn't have challenges when we transitioned. You know, you hear about the high unemployment rate, that type of stuff. But my transition, I consider it was a success. Right, so it just changing the narrative. It's not always bad when you hear about veterans. Oh, homelessness, sexual assault, suicide. Granted, yes, it's there, but we also need to hear the good things about the military. So we have to share our story.
Absolutely. What would you tell a female veteran who feels as though she's not a veteran?
Girl, please. And I hear that. Yeah. We was talking to an individual just last night. She was like, I was only in 5 years. Really?
Doesn't that break your heart?
It does. And I don't know, why is that? Why is it that we don't identify? So I tell my female veterans, claim it and claim it loud. Yeah. Whether it was 5 years, 20 years, whether you went to combat, that's another reason. Some people feel, oh, I didn't deploy. And, you know, so it's just so important that you own that you identify. And that's another different thing about us women veterans. We don't wear stuff like the men, right? They walk around with their baseball caps and their pins and all that type of stuff. We don't do that. Why is that? You know? So it's just wear it and wear it proud, and how are they going to know unless you don't speak up? So I would just say wear it. Be bold, speak out, let everybody know that you're a woman vet. No matter how much time you serve, it doesn't matter. I like to say one team, one fight. Yeah. So it doesn't matter how long it was. We're all veterans.
And I tell women all the time, if you put that uniform on and you know, go to war every day, you go to work every day in that uniform, you know, vow to protect this country, you are a veteran. And it doesn't matter how long you've been in, it doesn't matter what you did, it doesn't matter what your career path was, claim that. And so I want you to complete this statement for me. I want you to say your name and say, you know, I am a female veteran and complete that sentence.
Wow, okay. I'm Dr. Ann James. I'm a female veteran and so much more. I'm a female veteran and I'm proud of it. And when I say so much more, that includes that I'm a mother, I'm a small business owner. I'm an advocate for my fellow veterans. I'm a financial coach. That's another thing that I love to do with my women veterans, to help them gain a better understanding of their finances, to win back control, to win those battles over their money. I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a Christian. I'm just so much more, and I'm proud of it. Each of those things I listed, I'm proud of it. I'll talk about it anytime, any day, anywhere. So that's what I like to say about that.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. Last question for you, Ann. If you had to give a tip or a golden nugget to a female veteran that you see on the street or you come in contact with in the community, what would you tell that female veteran?
Oh, wow. I would say, hello, my sister. Because that's what I feel like when I reach out with my other female veterans, hello, my sisters. But the tidbit, I would say, it goes back to identify, claim it, talk, speak out, whether it's good or bad. If you need help, ask for help. There's no shame in it. There's stuff there for you. The resources are there for us. You have to just use it and not be don't be ashamed about anything that you experience, whether it's in the military, outside in the military. You are not alone. That's a big thing for me on the outside. That's why I named my business Financial Freedom Battle Buddies.
Yeah,
right?
love it.
Battle buddy outside of the military. We know what it means while we serve, but you need that battle buddy on the outside. So find that battle buddy for you, reach out, tell your story, ask for help, whatever it is. That's what I would encourage all of my female veterans to do.
She's on a mission, breaking rules, removing barriers, and positioning veterans to solve the cyber and high-tech skills shortage. You ask, who is this? Here's her story.
Thank you so much, Michelle, for taking the time to talk with me today. I'm so excited to hear about your business, hear about your experience as a veteran. And so let's just get into it. So tell me who you are.
So, Michelle Mosey, I am the country manager here in North America for With You With Me. Our business is a business that builds talent. And how do we build talent? We actually work with transitioning veterans who are looking for a career after service. We train them in high-tech data roles, which are a huge gap in the market. So we teach them cybersecurity, penetration testing, robotics process automation, data analytics, and cloud. Really exciting careers to go into, and importantly for veterans, that veterans are super well suited to be highly successful in those roles. So we take them through a process where we test them, we match them to a career pathway where they have a high chance of being super successful in that role, and then we connect them with employers. And as they go through that journey, we mentor them, we have a career coach, and we very much adopt the military style that they're used to and they have experience while they've been in uniform of training in a team, training in a squad, training with a group of people who have same mission, same focus, same outcomes as them, and get them into that fantastic career. Our company is 75% combat veterans, spread across Australia, North America, Papua New Guinea and Indonesia. So we take all kinds because we know that the experience of transition can make you anxious, it can be scary, but we're very much a company that is about helping you find out what you're good at, helping you double down on it, and being successful after service.
And so are you a veteran?
I am a veteran. I spent 13 years in the Royal Australian Navy as an electronic warfare sailor. I did quite a bit of sea time, as all the Navy people out there will know. I've served on frigates, destroyers, patrol boats, and actually also did a little tour on a US nuclear submarine.
Wow, that's impressive. Did you always know you were going to go into the military?
I absolutely did not. I don't really come from a military background. My grandfather was a Red Devil who jumped into Normandy on D-Day, so I had that connection, but it wasn't something that I ever thought about as a career for myself.
And so what changed your mind? Was it because your grandfather did it, or was it because of school? Was it because you're looking for something else? What were you looking for?
It's a really good question. I grew up in a very, very small country town in central New South Wales, so there wasn't a great deal of opportunity there in terms of growth. And like many young people, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I just happened to run into a recruiter one afternoon who was there doing the recruitment drive through Central West New South Wales, and he told me about this brand new career and that they were recruiting for, electronic warfare, and I thought, well, that sounds pretty exciting. Well, you know, what do you get to do in that? And he said, well, you know, it's about signals intelligence, and it's about collecting information and putting that into reports that will then actually help inform command and help the Navy operate better. And I thought, oh, well, that sounds pretty good, because at the moment I'm just working, in a news agency. So that sounds pretty exciting. Within 2 weeks, I was signed up and down at HMAS Cerberus doing my initial boot camp. My mother, needless to say, was incredibly surprised when she said, what did you do at work today? And I said, oh, I joined the Navy. And she was like, hang on, what? So the journey really started from there for me.
Any regrets?
Absolutely none. Absolutely none. I spent 13 of the best years of my life meeting fantastic people, developing skills and working with equipment and people who I never would have had the opportunity to before. I traveled the world. And the Navy, I think I can confidently say, made me the person I am today.
Wonderful, wonderful. Let's talk about the transitional space that your company is in. Why is transitioning such an issue for a lot of veterans that you probably have noticed?
Yeah, look, and I think it's the same on both sides of the pond, whether you're in Australia or whether you're here in the US. A lot of veterans have operated in a very safe, secure team space. They have a mission that everyone who they work with connects with. They know the objective, they know the outcome. And transition can be scary for that reason, because you are going into the unknown. It causes anxiety. You're not really sure, should I follow my MOS? Because really, is that all I'm really qualified for? Might that make the transition easier? And then there's always the question about, well, what next? How do I continue to support my family? What do I do? I mean, the US is fantastic in a sense that you have so many opportunities for veterans after they transition, but at the end of the day, it still comes down to having the veteran make the right decision and be informed, have that data about what am I good at, not what did I do in the military, but what am I good at, and how can I translate that with a few additional skills to continue to make the upward climb after service.
So what do you think we can do better in the transitional space for veterans? Should we have them start transitioning 6 months before they get out, a year before they get out? What should we do better that hasn't already been tried?
Look, I think there are a lot of good programs out there now. I think 12 months is kind of the sweet spot when it comes to transition, because by that stage you've kind of made the decision that you're going to move on and do something different. 12 months gives you time to clear your leave, time for command to plan that you are going to be leaving and then get a replacement in. But it also gives you time to train and upskill in a new role, so that when your ETS comes, you can step out of work, maybe go and spend a bit of time with your family, and then 2 weeks later, bang, into a job straight away, so you don't lose that financial income.
So obviously, we all transition, women and men. What do you think are the changes between how a woman transition compared to a male veteran that transitions?
Really good question. I think often, and certainly been my experience, women don't talk a lot about their service. They don't talk a lot about their service. They don't look upon it the same way that men would. Why? I think it's a societal and cultural difference. And often, as a woman, when you're in uniform, you're focused, you target, you've got an objective, and often if you may not make a transition to a job that offers you those same things. So the conversations at work are different, right? I always found when I had my kids, I would be at sea, I would be on operations, I would come home, and then the conversations that I would have with my children's friends' parents, and especially their mothers, absolutely nothing in common. So those conversations change, and that's just the schoolyard, right? And then being able to communicate and articulate the differences, particularly in the workplace, about what being in a war-fighting machine looks like and how that translates to be a bank teller. You have to, that takes practice, right? It takes practice, and there's a few failures kind of along the way.
That's all for this edition of Veterans in Transition. We ask that you like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Remember, everyone has a story to tell. Until next time.